Hello everyone. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then subscribe to this channel. The life and tradition of Albert Camus, brought into the world on November 7, 1913, in Mondovi, Algeria, is prestigious as a significant figure in 20th century writing, reasoning, and existential idea. His works significantly affect both writing and reasoning, especially through his investigation of subjects like absurdism, existentialism, and the human condition. Camus' excursion from an unobtrusive childhood in Algeria to turning into a Nobel Prize-winning creator is a demonstration of his scholarly ability and his obligation to resolving the major inquiries of presence. Early life, Camus was naturally introduced to an unfortunate common family. His dad, Lucien Camus, passed on in the skirmish of the Marne during the Second Great War, leaving his mom, Catherine, to raise him and his more seasoned sibling, Lucien. Catherine, who was to some extent hard of hearing and uneducated, functioned as a cleaning lady to help her loved ones. Notwithstanding their monetary battles, Camus' initial life in Algiers was set apart by a rich social climate, which fundamentally impacted his later works. Camus succeeded scholastically and procured a grant to go to the renowned Lycée Bugard in Algiers. It was there that he was acquainted with reasoning and writing, subjects that would shape his future. His tutor, Jean Grenier, assumed an essential part in supporting his scholarly turn of events, empowering him to peruse generally and think fundamentally. College years and early scholarly, Camus went to the College of Algiers, where he concentrated on way of thinking. His time at the college was set apart by a profound commitment with philosophical idea and writing. Notwithstanding, his examinations were intruded on in 1930 when he was determined to have tuberculosis, an illness that tormented him all through his life. Notwithstanding this mishap, Camus proceeded to compose and draw in with scholarly circles. In 1935, Camus established the Théâtre du Struggle, Laborers' Theatre, in Algiers, mirroring his obligation to involving workmanship for the purpose of social and political commitment. During this period, he likewise joined the French Socialist Coalition, driven by his anxiety for civil rights and the situation of the average workers. In any case, he later moved away from the party because of philosophical contrasts, especially in regards to Stalinism. The Second Great War and The Outsider, the episode of the Second Great War significantly affected Camus' life and work. He moved to Paris in 1940 and became engaged with the French opposition, functioning as a supervisor for the underground paper battle. It was during this turbulent period that Camus distributed two of his most huge works, The Outsider, 1942, and The Legend of Sisyphus, 1942. The Outsider is a novel that represents Camus' way of thinking of the ridiculous. It recounts the narrative of Massault, a repelled and sincerely separated man who carries out a silly homicide and is consequently condemned to death. Through Massault's encounters, Camus investigates topics of existentialism, the pointlessness of life, and the detachment of the universe. The novel's unmistakable exposition and philosophical profundity procured it basic recognition and laid out Camus as a main voice in existential writing. In the fantasy of Sisyphus, Camus presents his philosophical exposition on the ludicrous. Drawing on the Greek fantasy of Sisyphus, who is sentenced to move a stone up a slope just for it to move down each time, Camus contends that human life is comparatively crazy. That's what he sets. In a universe without inborn importance, people should track down their own motivation and live really. This article stays quite possibly of Camus' most persuasive philosophical work. Post-war years and the plague. Following the conflict, Camus proceeded to compose and take part in scholarly discussions. He distributed The Plague, 1947, an original set in the Algerian town of Oran during a destructive flare-up of bubonic plague. The original fills in as a moral story for the Nazi control of France and investigates topics of affliction, fortitude, and the human limit with regards to versatility. The Plague was broadly lauded for its ethical profundity and became quite possibly of Camus' most celebrated work. During this period, Camus additionally delved into theater, delivering and coordinating plays that mirrored his philosophical advantages. His play Caligula, 1944, analyzes the overabundances of outright power and the idea of oppression, while The Fair Professional Killers, 1949, investigates the moral issues looked by political progressives. Philosophical questions and Nobel Prize. Camus' philosophical perspectives frequently carried him into struggle with different educated people, most quite Jean-Paul Sartre. While both were related with existentialism, Camus dismissed the name and moved away from Sartre's communist leanings. Their scholarly fracture finished in a public run in 1952, following Camus' distribution of The Dissident, a paper that scrutinizes progressive philosophies and tyranny. In The Renegade, Camus contends for a type of resistance that is grounded in moral standards and regards human respect, as opposed to one that looks to legitimize brutality and mistreatment. In 1957, Camus was granted the Nobel Prize in Writing at 44 years old, making him one of the most youthful beneficiaries of the esteemed honor. The Nobel Board perceived his commitment to writing, lauding his discerning genuineness enlightens the issues of the human soul presently. Regardless of the honor, Camus stayed modest and communicated his uneasiness with the praise, seeing himself as an essayist with much still to accomplish. Later life. Camus' later years were set apart by proceeded with artistic and philosophical investigation. He dealt with a progression of incomplete undertakings, including The Principal Man, a semi-personal novel that digs into his Algerian legacy and his relationship with his mom. The original copy was found among the destruction of the auto collision that guaranteed his life on January 4, 1960, close to Villebolvin, France. His less-than-ideal passing at 46 years old cut off a productive vocation, yet his impact perseveres. Albert Camus' heritage is portrayed by his relentless obligation to investigating the intricacies of human life and the ethical inquiries of his time. His works keep on resounding with perusers and masterminds all over the planet, offering significant experiences into the human condition and the quest for importance in an apathetic universe. Camus' way of thinking of the crazy, his accentuation on individual opportunity and moral obligation, and his abstract splendor guarantee that his commitments to writing and reasoning stay persevering and persuasive. Thank you for watching.